My dear beloved children, since transition to a new dimension will happen not in 1 minute, you have a chance to get ready for it both in terms of energy, and in terms of creativity. What does this preparation include? Before all, you're being aware of your mission. Many of you are likely to do their favorite things now, and in this case you will just have to switch it over to a new course taking into consideration the new earth reality. While those who make their living not by the occupation to their liking should dream about what they would like to get busy with and content with their soul this time. If you have no apparently shown talents or abilities, you should think about what things really interest you and in what spheres you could bring most good. Since on New Earth there will be created common interests communes, I am sure each of you will fit into one of them by all means. And now you can already look closely at your environment. Thus, if you are keen on gardening, you should follow this direction and find like-minded people with whom you can not only share experience, but make common plans on growing in volume this or that agriculture crops, flowers or other plants. If you feel a calling for teaching, you can search for people of common interests in this sphere too, and even think about your own experimental school, with a curriculum featuring not only general subjects, but the laws of the universe too, as well as spiritual practices and esoteric knowledge. But, of course, your comrades should know about the global changes now taking place on Earth and be at the same wavelength with you. This is exactly the point that makes New Earth communes different from those of the third dimension world where, as it chances, humans and inhumans find themselves side by side, with their vibration range being wide indeed. And while the dual world is often held sway over by the spirit of competition, in New Earth communes it will be the spirit of love, mutual understanding and assistance. Therefore, my dear, already now look for those you would like to work with and live next to, who you feel genuine spiritual kinship to, and stick together so as to help each other to build a new life on Earth. Today I would like to consider one more aspect of such a notion as calling. What does it mean from a universe-divine point of view? Calling is the call of man's soul. Unfortunately, in the third dimension world few manage to hear their soul, and the reasons are numerous. We have already talked a lot that one is literally from childhood is guided by one parents and grandparents, kindergarten teachers and teachers, university professors and later bosses and colleagues at work. Generally speaking, they try to turn one from birth into a screw of the state machine that is controlled from without by the deep state again. And this machine, its representatives at the helm to be exact, decide destinies of millions of people not caring for what their own souls are eager for. You know it well yourselves that few can allow themselves to indulge in their hobbies if they do not bring any income. But this is the reason for the survival conditions to have been created on Earth to make one call of soul drowned. So now, in new vibrations of Earth you will be getting rid of the chains of stimulated and forced labor. Unfortunately, a lot of people will get at a loss and will not know what to do with the freedom they were dreaming of. Thus much they got used to their settled routine life. They have actually turned into screws of social, professional and family machines of the modern society of the third dimension. And even those who think they have already returned their conscience a new way will be surprised with how dependent they still are on the third dimension world patterns. This is the reason why I have initiated this talk about your calling now, so as to make you prepared for the upcoming changes and help you make transition smoothly, in a harmonious and appropriate way. Well, what should be done by those of you who do know now yet what your calling is? Before all, not to lose heart or feel defective in comparison with those who have already revealed some certain talents. I have repeatedly mentioned that just to be a light, pure and friendly person is a great talent of its own. You know it from experience how hard it is to free oneself from comparison, irritation, jealousy and many other attributes of dual life. And if you set a goal to become a person completely free from negative thoughts and emotions and in the long run become one, you will make a great contribution. Hard to overestimate to building a new society on the new Earth, since just your presence will increase vibrations of collective human conscience and, consequently, your planet in general. Of course, this suggestion concerns all people with no exception who find themselves at the threshold of a new life, but for many of you this can become the very calling you are striving for and that you seemingly cannot understand so far. Always remember that there is not a single living being on Earth without any calling, and that the main and most important one is unconditional love that is available to each living thing possessing a divine soul. So as to round up with the issue of the role you assume on the Earth of the fifth dimension, Today I would like to talk about your children, since it is them who are to build new life on your planet in consistence with new principles. This time, education and bringing up of crystal children that come to Earth now require quite a different approach. And today I would like to draw attention to the role played by parents in these children personality maturity process, most of whom possess absolutely different conscience from birth, and, therefore, their behavior differs from the one typical of you when a child. In other words, in this case you cannot rely on your personal experience while bringing them up, because it leads to just lack of understanding between you. Your relations with children, irrespective of their age, should be based on trust, respect and interest to their inner world. Treat them as your equal, because in this case such notions as a grown-up or a child are rather conditional. Quite often your children and your grandchildren's souls are much older and wiser than yours, and, despite age, they can teach you a lot. Learn to listen to your children and understand the motives of their behavior. Sometimes the things that seem whims or disobedience to you are actually nothing else but their free will manifestation and desire to make decisions independently. Of course, everything should be reasonable, and it is quite hard to offer specific recommendations, thus unique each child is. So, it is essential to find the approach that will allow you to become not a supervisor of their behavior but a curious and friendly onlooker. It will help both you and them keep your energy space inviolable and at the same time exchange your observations and considerations. Meanwhile, it is significant to learn not to impose your opinion on the child but simply share your thoughts and then ask them, "And what do you think?" I am sure some unexpected answers await you, since crystal children have come to Earth with their own experience and often from quite distinct higher dimensions. This is the reason why the third dimension upbringing and education are unnatural and pernicious for such children, because they counterpart the laws of the universe they lived in consistence with during their previous incarnations. As a rule, these children have their talents and abilities shown early in childhood. That is why it will not be difficult for observant and loving parents to reveal them, and, certainly, everything should be done to develop and master them. Now, at the junction of two epochs there will be in progress not only people conscience breaking but that of the whole education system as well, since the old one will not be able to exist on the new Earth, while the new one has not been formed yet. Therefore, so as to save child psyche from inconsistence between school curriculum and real events that will start developing on your planet the coming years, parents should create the conditions for their children that will help them make transition smoothly and in a harmonious way. And, first of all, such inconsistence shows at the energy level, as children are much more sensitive to vibration nuances. Being unable to explain it to themselves, they react to grown-ups' behavior in an inadequate way, since they see that their words and actions differed from what they themselves feel at the subtle level. In other words, if there are energies of love, freedom and unity in the air, while a teacher goes on living and acting in compliance with the third dimension world programs laying a heavy emphasis on obedience and control, a child resisting this inside their heart openly expresses their protest by aggression or total disregard of their teacher. In this case everybody faces problems. The teachers unable to rearrange their conscience a new way because of their low vibrations, and the children who have come to Earth featuring a new vibration potential this time. Well, my dear, what can you do if you see that your child suffers from lack of understanding for their teacher's side and refuses to go to school? First of all, not to bring critics down on teachers, which will just render your child pain worse, as they will make sure their parents condemn their teachers as well. Why is it so important? Because thereby you simply make the gap between your child and teachers wider and, consequently, encourage duality. You had better try to explain to your child that teachers behave this way not deliberately but because they themselves were brought up the very manner and it is a standard of life for them. Try to communicate to your child in a clear and comprehensible way the laws of the universe and, which is even better, to turn it into a funny game. The child relations with teachers can become a wonderful simulator and example of these laws' manifestation at the physical level. If the child learns to track the results of their work and sees how their teacher's attitude towards them changes depending on the way they themselves behave and what energy they themselves send to the teachers, it will become habitual to them and they will start living in accordance with the laws of the universe and, consequently, will smoothly move to a new condition of the fifth dimension man. As a matter of fact, my dear, it is not that difficult to do. But, of course, you should start with yourself and show your children with your personal example how you can work with energies changing your reality by power of thought and intention. So, You will be developing and growing spiritually with your child, making your way to the new earth and together overcoming the vibration gap inevitable in the transition period between dimensions. And your mutual efforts will bring wonderful results, since they will automatically encourage your environment spiritual growth too. Thus, changing themselves, your child will see how everything around changes as well, with this as exactly being the basis of the fifth dimension man existence. I see that many of you start exaggerating and painting all your previous life black. Of course, we talked a lot about injustice of the modern society, its spiritual impoverishment, the mentality and behavior patterns imposed on you. All this really exists, and in recent years it has just got aggravated, but you should not forget about the good things you had in life that you should be grateful for. For all these good things were despite the things artificially instilled by high and mighty. You could enjoy life whatever it took. You admired the beauty of nature, communication with close people, creativity in all its manifestation. A pure and light soul has always been able to find a relief even on seemingly most routine days. You gave people joy and supported each other in dire straits. And this dual world life experience is invaluable indeed. Well, it is this experience you were coming back for to Earth again and again up till your last incarnation that will let you make transition together with the planet into a new dimension. And now it is essential to live through this hard transition period in an appropriate and harmonious way, not casting slurs on your previous life and not indulging in idealizing the one that awaits you. You should keep in your soul the precious moments of your third dimension world life that now granted you happy and jolly minutes, now made you suffer. So now, I would like to offer you a meditation that will help you balance the road you traveled in this crucial incarnation of yours and make your transition to a new life harmonious. For this purpose you should not look through all your life in details. It will be enough to remember just some important landmarks, the turning points that open new horizons for tearing yourselves away from the routine condition, and trace the itinerary of your soul roundabout for some people or quite straight for some others. We will call this meditation burnt bridges. In the world of the fifth dimension there will be in progress the very globalization that is widely spoken about now, but it will be a complete opposite of what is contrived by the deep state. In the new society there will occur the divine process of uniting of people in compliance with the laws of the universe. Borders between countries will be gradually wiped off and people will be able to move around the planet freely. But along with this, all the national peculiarities, unique features and traditions of each state will be preserved. While the modern globalist goal is to completely depersonalize individuals, nations, countries, annihilate their cultural heritage, their history and national traditions, in the world of the fifth dimension this is exactly what will become the most valuable thing and will be encouraged every possible way. Little by little, you will learn your genuine history and will be surprised to find out how much it differs from the one you were taught and how much was concealed from you. You will broaden your worldview thanks to contacts with your galaxy brothers and sisters. You will acquire your space family and will see how numerous are intelligent civilizations in the universe and how closely all of them are interconnected. Thereby not only borders between countries and continents on Earth will be wiped off, but also between different civilizations. As long as you are mastering telepathic communication skills, you will be able to feel better both each other and creatures from other planets and parallel worlds who look so different from you. Incredible opportunities of learning will be offered to you, and each of you will find the things of interest just to you, learning a bunch of history, literature, science, various arts to your liking. The same applies to communication with living beings. You will intuitively feel those who are close to you in terms of energy and spirit being attracted to each other according to vibrations. Therefore, your communication will always be enjoyable and harmonious. Many of you will meet their star families from other planets, and this recognition will bring you a lot of pleasant minutes and amazing discoveries. Language barriers will gradually cease as well, because you will learn to understand each other without words. As far as various dialects and languages themselves are concerned, they will be carefully kept as national heritage of each country, and linguistically talented people will be gladly studying and classifying them. Thus, despite geographical and spiritual unity of all the countries and nations, people will be enriching each other with the best of what they possess. With the course of time on your planet there will be formed a general management body, with the best representatives of each country enjoying membership in it. Its main task will be coordination of actions between the states and distribution of material wealth depending on the needs of each country. It will be the United Nations organization of its ideal kind, with no bias or corruption it is seized with at present. It will become some kind of a compilation point for the information on human needs in different places of the planet. In other words, Such an organization will turn into a planetary council of elders, and the best representatives of each state will be its members. For this purpose you should plunge into rather a deep meditative state and invoke all your heavenly patrons, and then take your time and thoughtfully look through the itinerary that you followed on the roads of this incarnation, all the turns and crossroads of your life that changed it drastically. It should apply not only to change of job, city, country, your sphere of activity, but also of the people who played an important role and led your life positive constructive way, or, just the opposite, suppressed your professional and spiritual intentions. And next, regardless of the role these people played in your life, from deep of your heart say thank you to them for the invaluable experience, both for happy and sad minutes, right and wrong decisions you made due to them. In other words, analyze your life from the point of view of an onlooker, impartial, just and friendly. And as a final stage of the meditation, imagine all the life you lived as an island in the ocean, or, maybe, a big island with a bridge, a wide one, perhaps connecting this island with another one, a virgin desert but beautiful island. Both the islands are dear to you, but you know that crossing the bridge to the other island, to the high vibration space new to you, you will burn down the bridge to it forever now, since your soul has already made its choice. You let the former life go with love and gratitude, carrying away the best and dearest of everything you had with you. Feel, my dear, you walking along the bridge, the feelings overwhelming you in the way they are echoing in your soul, whether you want to come back or you are striving for a new life with all your being. And let this meditation become a test on your readiness for transition, your maturity exam. So as to round up with the issue of a new world system on the earth of the fifth dimension, I would like to focus on one more its aspect. We will talk about your cooperation with the galaxy family. Same as earthly boundaries between different countries will start ceasing, so will the invisible borders between different worlds of your galaxy. Yet, it will happen step by step in a carefully meted way, since most people conscience is not ready for this yet. It will take a lot of time for people to accept and realize the things that have been taking place on your planet for millennia. The disclosure of truth is a complicated process indeed, especially when this truth turns out so scary and unexpected for the overwhelming majority of your planet inhabitants. And only after the energy chaos inevitable for shocks that severe is over, it will be possible to move on to the next stage of information disclosure and tell people about the fact of aliens' existence, which is up till now is taken by many as mere fiction. It should also be taken into account that many members of your galaxy family look rather different from you, and it requires a great deal of wisdom and love, as well as developed energy sensation skills to feel kinship with living creatures that exotic. In other words, humanity needs time to get used to a new energy space and arrange their own life there, and only after that to start meeting neighbors in the galaxy. But it does not mean at all that during this period there will be no contacts between you. Of course, there will be some, since highly developed civilizations will go on providing you with support, as it was the case before, but it will occur by means of reliable and trusted people. So, at the initial stage you will receive help as the most cutting-edge technologies that will be introduced into your life thanks to experts specially trained by them. And at a later stage, when the conscience of the fifth dimension creature becomes deeply rooted in human, that is, an unipolar conscience that does not divide anyone into ins and outs, there will take place contacts of earthlings with extraterrestrial civilizations of both personal and interplanetary character. Personal meetings will help you acquire your star families and learn your true genealogy, while interplanetary meetings will let humanity become a plenipotentiary participant of intergalactic organizations and societies aimed at mutual assistance and coordination of actions in case of danger. Same as you will choose the best representatives for your country's councils of elders, so will the Planetary Council of Elders sending its best representatives for the sittings of the galaxy management bodies. And all this will occur, my dear, quite soon in terms of earthly time, just within several decades. But for the time being, try to live in the moment of your now, doing your best to facilitate the victory of the light forces on Earth, thereby making your contacts with your galaxy family closer. Today we move on to another topic that concerns your transition to a new level of your inner state rather than Earth transition to the fifth dimension. Why is it inner state of man that I lay special emphasis on this time? The thing is that unlike conscience, it comprises a lot of elements and we will consider each of them little by little. But first, I would like to give a more general definition of inner state of man. Briefly, it is a totality of factors that determine their energy, physical and psyche health. And we will start with the first element. What does energy health of man rely on? Before all, It depends on harmonious and balanced condition of all their chakras. It is extremely important as chakras are not only subtle sense organs of man but also energy centers, and each of them is responsible for this or that organ of the human body or its vital function. So, even a spiritually advanced person with highly developed upper chakras can feel severe inner discomfort if their lower chakras are unbalanced. Well, after your morning exercises your inner state is balanced in terms of energy, and now you should do everything you can to preserve this state during all day long, no matter how busy it is. And it makes no difference at all what conditions you will find yourself in, being on your own in the country or deeply involved in the thick of the things, interacting with a variety of people. As a matter of fact, to a large extent the inner state of man depends not on external irritants but on their own energy impulses, the ones that trigger further processes making influence on their mood and actions. But, first of all, you should learn to be independent on external circumstances. Many of you have already learned to watch everything around as onlookers and see the true underlying reasons of both people behavior and the events taking place around. Yet, it is one thing when it does not directly concerns you, and it makes a huge difference when you get undeliberately involved into these events and you have to respond to them, make decisions, protect yourself or protect others. How can you keep calm and imperturbable under such circumstances? Before all, to keep in mind every minute that you are protected, you are inside mirror sphere that is filled with the energy of ascension. Just recall it as often as possible. Thereby you will constantly sustain it with your energy intention. Moreover, it is essential to learn to identify which chakra of yours reacts to the things occurring around. In the course of time you will feel it almost instantaneously. Thus, for example, your concern for children most often is echoed in your heart chakra. It starts to fall out of the general rhythm of all the rest of chakras. As soon as you feel this inconsistence, you should stop the rush of your thoughts and make this chakra consistent with the other chakras, making the energy of ascension run through all of them. And only after you make sure your heart chakra pulses the same way as the others do, you can analyze the reason of your concern and act according to the circumstances this time. Thereby you will save from a severe fear attack not only yourself but your children as well, who are inseparable from you at the subtle level. Another example: at work you faced the situation that wounded your pride. Your third chakra immediately responded to it being out of the tune with the other chakras. As soon as you feel this, you should say, "Stop, it is my spiritual maturity test." Just as in the former case, make the energy of ascension run through yourself, tuning the third chakra again onto high vibrations it fell out of step with, and then look at the situation impartially, with no condemn. I am sure that being in a state of inner quiet you will see everything as it is and will be able to find the right and painless for everybody way out of even the most complicated situation. Thereby little by little you will master the skill of gaining peace of mind, which will help you yourself and your environment avoid a lot of negative moments and solve the problems you face peacefully, with no arguments, aggression or conflicts. Well, it happens at every turn, my dear, and it is again the third dimension programs and patterns to blame that are instilled into your subconscious. First of all, it is fear well settled in human conscience, ranging from seemingly minor things to the fear for one life. Imagine the following sight. Someone has torn themselves away from the city bustle to the country. They are walking in the forest. It is quiet, peaceful and beautiful. But instead of enjoying all the beauty and calm, they suddenly start thinking. As soon as they trigger this mental process inside themselves, out of their subconscious like enemy spies there begin to appear fears disguised in different clothes. Fear for themselves and their close people, for children and grandchildren, for their present and future, for the country fate. The problem is, my dear, that it is fears that have been instilled into your conscience and subconscious for centuries. As you already know, it was done deliberately, and the result of this massive treatment of human conscience has turned out to be its programming for negative thoughts and emotions whose energies were exactly the nourishment of those who seized power on your planet. So, instead of creating in one imagination wonderful happy future, one automatically starts foreseeing possible negative consequences of this or that step. But, as long as any thought is material, most often possible consequences programmed by one conscience turn real, because the universe knows nothing of the subjunctive mood, it accepts your order in the form it was placed. Well, it is these negative programs of your subconscious that can ruin the harmony of your inner state even when you are isolated from the external world. Therefore, It is essential to track these enemy spies of your subconscious, not forcing them back to their shelter at the same time but dissolving them with the energy of ascension that your protective mirror sphere is filled with. The principle of unwelcome guests identification is same as in the previous case. You should feel what chakra responds to them and make it balanced with the others right away. And only after that you should dissolve the thoughts and emotions that upset the calm of your soul with the energy of ascension. Really handy in this case can be the practice I offered you in my recent message, and the idea of which is in redirecting any thought that arises in your conscience the creative way and start building in your imagination the world you are dreaming about. Imagine as vividly as you can your new life in the fifth dimension, where not only you yourself will fit and realize your calling, but all your relatives and family, friends and acquaintances and, in general, all the people who make transition will do as well. This way your inner state will gradually get pulled up to the new energies of Earth, and at the same time you will be creating the new reality by power of your intention. So as to round up with the talk about energy components of the inner state of man, let us consider one more of its aspects. Most often people are in the state of wandering attention, since few so far manage to stay in the moment of here and now. This is exactly the main reason for the unbalanced and disharmonious inner state of the overwhelming majority of the people on your planet. Your thoughts are constantly on the hop from one subject to another one, getting meanwhile colored with a variety of energies. It reminds black fleas flying to the light of a lamp and going around it in unceasing motion. The same way to the light of the human soul there fly various energy substances that the space around you literally swarms with. They are attracted to a person according to the law of similars in consistence with vibration frequency. Unfortunately, even the most spiritually advanced person finding themselves in the third dimension world is susceptible to these negative energies hovering in the air. As a rule, they are waiting for an unbalanced thought or emotion of such a person to open a hole for them to get into their energy space. And then, if they manage to penetrate into it, they get down to work on encouraging the direction this person thought referred to. As you have probably guessed, the work is instantaneously joined by astral beings feeding on the corresponding type of energy. They start to enhance what was initially just a gleam germ of a negative thought, rendering it voluminous and featuring the corresponding color. All these processes occur in the energy space of a person like a flash, being unnoticed by them, as a result of which their blessed and harmonious inner state sometimes changes into tense and disharmonious one in the twinkling of an eye. This is why, my dear, preventive measures are so important to keep energy pure all day long, which will guarantee your physical and psychic health. If you remember about the necessity of energy morning exercises and learn to balance your subtle sense organs, immediately catching at the very beginning any disharmonious thought or emotion that arose in your conscience, your life will change drastically. Moreover, just by your presence you will change the space around, forcing out of it all this energy garbage that will burn in the rays of your mirror sphere. And believe me, my dear, it will not take you much time. Everything that is required from you is self-discipline and goodwill. Let it become a habit and lifestyle for each of you. As you already know, any disorder shows first at the subtle level and only then at the physical one. In other words, the energy disbalance of this or that chakra of man causes a disorder of this or that body organ or vital function that this chakra is in charge of. This is exactly the reason why we started our talk about the inner state of man with its energy component. And though this correlation has already been talked about a lot in my previous messages, today we will consider it from a little different angle. I know, my dear, that so far not all of you can feel your chakras good enough to adjust their work literally on the go. Therefore, for those of you who have not learned to use your subtle tuning yet, I will offer backwards practices. Thanks to them you will learn to balance your energy centers relying on the physical prompts of your body. But for this you should be able to understand your body, not neglecting even the slightest signs that are manifested in any deviations from normal harmonious performance. Well, what can be considered as normal? It is such an inner state of man when one simply does not feel one body. That is, it does not hurt anywhere. One breathes easily, moves lightly, and feeling no tiredness copes with everyday routine with no efforts. Such a state can be typical of a person irrespective of their age, since age itself is again the third dimension world pattern that has been instilled into your conscience for centuries by high and mighty. Human body reserves are actually unlimited, and its aging is triggered by your thoughts that with the course of time one gets older, falls ill and dies. And even the time of aging was settled by those who were interested in that. People die from old age and illnesses, thereby emitting the energy of pain and sorrow they love so much. Thus, reptiloids who seized power on Earth, having learned to control human conscience, initiated by means of its physiological processes of quick physical body wear. They, unlike people, have always known that thought is material and made use of this knowledge, leading human thoughts the direction they need. Manipulating human conscience the way people constantly live in fear, they destroyed their energy structure, thereby starting up the mechanism of their physical body destruction. This is how they produced one of the most pernicious fears for the human soul, the fear to fall ill, which they take advantage of up till present. This is exactly the fear that their program on Earth population robotization was based on through artificially created pandemic and general vaccination of people, disease and death. This idea made millions of people on Earth accept fateful vaccine whose consequences, as a matter of fact, are much worse than death itself, because the components of these vaccines destroy eternal divine soul of a person. How can you identify that your inner state is directly correlated with the physical one? Of course, first of all, by signs of discomfort in your body that at the subtle level get immediately transformed to the negative feelings of fear and worry about your health. This is the impulse arising in your conscience that should become the starting point of your work on harmonization of the energy and physical components of your inner state. Let us consider the mechanism of their interaction, having a case study. Suppose your heart suddenly begins to ache. The reasons can be numerous, yet this time we will start not with the search of the psychosomatic cause of the pain that appeared, but will study the energy component of this problem. Before all, you should remember what chakra is responsible for the heart performance of man. This is the fourth heart chakra. Therefore, so as to bring the work of the heart to normal, you should as soon as possible make this chakra balanced and harmonized with the others. This is some kind of energy medical emergency service that you can provide to yourself. Even if you do not feel your heart chakra, you can visualize it as an energy center of green color. Concentrate all your attention on it. Imagine that your chakra is wounded. There are some holes and dark spots in it. It has become distorted and lost its ideal form. In a word, your heart chakra is on the blink, and you have to restore it right away, returning its original appearance. Invoke the flame of universe love and ask it to dissolve all the alien things that appeared in your heart chakra, and then fill it with the energy of ascension so as to consolidate the result. Ask the energy of ascension to bring all your chakras to a balance, thereby correlating the fourth chakra with the others. It is extremely important, since only the smooth and well-coordinated work of all your subtle sense organs can make your physical condition completely balanced. Do not lose your heart if you do not feel the energies passing through your chakras. Your sincere intention will do its work. The advantage of this practice is that it lets you feel its results at the physical level immediately. If you have done everything right, the heartache should cease or disappear completely. And only after you take away painful symptoms by means of energy, you should by all means find the psychological cause of this pain so as to avoid its coming back. Most often it is fear and worry about yourself or your close people, which is even reflected in your language. My heart bleeds for him. But you already know, my dear, that your heart should not bleed for somebody but be happy and send people love and best wishes. That is why, after you have found the reason of the discomfort that arose, replay the situation in your thoughts, thereby removing the cause from your conscience and subconscious. Perhaps many of you have already witnessed your own examples and examples of other people, how one worldview changes when illness retards one pace of life, tearing one out away from the usual routine. Of course, a lot here depends on the spiritual potential of a person and their soul age. Thus, an individual who is completely overwhelmed by the third dimension programs in case of serious physical ordeals gets seized with fear and despair, which just makes their condition worse, rendering their disease aggravated and enhancing their pain. While the one who is potentially ready to move to another stage of spiritual progress starts reconsidering all the life, being thankful to the destiny for the opportunity offered to stop and do a roundabout, moving to a new level of their life. And now let us see what happens in the energy space of a person in the former and in the latter case, and how the processes occurring there influence their inner state. A material-oriented person starts searching for the reason for their misfortunes in the external world, blaming them on other people, circumstances, destiny, which in combination with the energy of fear for their life creates real whirlpools of negative energies in their aura. These energies, upsetting all the subtle tuning of the human body, put the chakras corresponding to these energies out of action, as a result of which the condition of physical organs of their body that are directly related to these chakras gets thrown into disorder too. The most glaring example of this is cancer metastasis spreading all around the body. Thus, the energies of fear, despair and weakness, offense to life and people literally consume energy centers first, the ones that control physical organs of man and then the organs themselves. And, of course, these energies welcomed for the astral are immediately attracted to by hordes of lower astral beings who complete the destructive work of the negative energies, as a result of which one dies rather quickly. Well, what about the one who, getting to know about one disease or being badly injured, does not become embittered to life or people but tries to review one life instead and understand the reasons for the things that happened? In this case, seeing their wise spiritual approach to the situation, all the higher powers give them a helping hand and imbue them with divine energies facilitating their advance in the right direction towards their recovery. Such a person gradually reconsiders all their life and starts searching for sense of their existence, being grateful for the lessons learned and even for the disease itself that helped them recover from the dormancy of the third dimension life and look at themselves and their environment with another eye. These light high vibration energies start purifying and healing their chakra subtle sense organs that on their turn trigger the process of healing of the physical organs of this person connected with them. It is essential to keep in mind, my dear, that all the processes in your body always start with the energy component. Therefore your inner state, being also largely affected by its physical aspect, depends on the energies conveyed by your thoughts and emotions. And if you learn to adjust these interdependable processes in your energy space, your inner state will always be balanced and harmonious. Here we will stop for today. Loving you endlessly. Father Absolute spoke to you.